Imagine it is a Friday night. You have had quite the week, and the thought of getting dressed, going out appeals to you about as much as getting a root canal. So, as you're putting on your comfy I am not leaving the house clothes, you start to decide what to do with this precious downtime. Sure, you could get mindlessly lost and binge watching a show or 10, but your eyes catch your bookshelf, and those go-to comfort reads call out to you. Read me, they seem to say, and of course, as their old friends, you oblige them. To me, comfort reads are just that, those old friends who have stood the test of time. They've calmed my soul and have become just the right antidote to making my world a bit better. And while there are definitely a few books on my shelf that I've read more than once, there are some that seem to be my go-tos. And in today's video, I'd like to introduce you to some of my time-honored friends. If you have any books you feel the same way about, I'd love it if you'd share them in the comments. All right, first up, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This timeless book of a love well fought for and how that morally gray character can become just as elusive as the center of a Tootsie Roll lollipop. Well, that is until you finally get to the center. All the goodness that is wrapped up in that delectable Mr. Darcy. And how about iconic lines like, "You are too generous to trifle with me. If your feelings are still what they were, tell me at once. My affections and wishes are unchanged." So good. I do love the movie, 2005 version, if you don't mind. And I find myself living vicariously through these stories, wishing someone would come and take my hand and ask me if I want to take a turn about the room or stitch some new ribbon on my Sunday hat. Maybe we could take a stroll through the garden before we walk into town to hear the latest gossip. A fantasy world in some ways, yes, but one that has moments of longing for a short escape to. I should also mention that along with the book, this has also become my comfort nighttime audiobook as well. If I'm having a tough time turning off my brain and sleeping, I will play this on low and let the sweet English accents lull me into some amazing dreams. Next up, and no hate, is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. While this is a newer book, for some reason it has become my latest go-to when I need a book to take me away from the day-to-day. Violet's journey through so many obstacles is one that just resonates with me. From her dealing with her family trauma to a love interest that has just the right amount of slow burn. I love the friendship connections, the win against all odd themes, and some pretty cranky dragons thrown into the mix that will be sure to put a smile on anyone's face. I know that it does for me. Now, along with all of these reasons, I do have to add that the graphic audio version of this book is, chef's kiss. The format of the audiobook is a total game changer, and it brings all of these scenes to life in an incredible way. New or not, this is one book that I know won't let me down. The next book may be a bit of a surprise, but I just love the storyline of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. The journey of Nora Seed, who is unhappy with her seemingly dead-end life and is given the opportunity to experience the lives she might have had if she had made different choices. Who here wouldn't admit to occasionally wondering what their life could have been if they made different choices or taken different directions? The idea of seeing what could happen through Nora's perspective would cause us to wonder if we were given that same opportunity to relive our lives, would we make changes or keep things the same? All of this introspection with the backdrop in a magical library, that hits in all the right places. I love reading and rooting for her to make these connections and to find her place. And it also doesn't hurt that it's a great takeaway for all of us to remember. A childhood favorite is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Set in the late 19th century, this story is one of a time of innocence wrapped up in some quirky dialogue and one-liners. The book recounts the story of an 11-year-old orphan girl named Anne Shirley, a precocious redhead who has the imagination well beyond her years. A clerical error sends her to live with middle-aged siblings who at first plan on sending her back, but in the long run, fall in love with her, and together they all become a strong and caring family. Now, I was obsessed with the original series that came out in 1985. And yes, I am a proud Gen Xer. And yes, as Anne shows us, girls just want to have fun. I would watch that with my mother, and it was a nice bonding time for us. And this experience would be something that I would take and share with my own kids. The love of reading would become a platform for us to connect over with so many good memories and takeaways. This book has so many layers, and why it will always be a comfort read for me. And last but never least is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This comfort read is one I go back to, but in a little different way from the others that I've shared. For this one, I tend to skip around, not necessarily reading it cover to cover. I have chapters that I love, scenes that make me smile, and depending on my mood, I may find myself drawing to one more than the other. I love how Feyre is connecting with the different characters, like how Cassian and Feyre are training and she finally breaks down and shares her inner pain, or how Az and Feyre connect through their childhood poverty, or that first real girl power friendship that she builds with Mor. And of course, I can't leave out how Feyre and Rhysand relationship evolves, the time and care he takes with her, and how he always takes that step back and makes sure that she knows that this is her path. She's in control. It is her choice. And that becomes a force for her to grow into her own power, both internally and externally. And darn it, I just want to have tea with the cereal. I love how strong Feyre becomes in this book, how she finds her path and allows herself to love and to be loved. And while I shared that I do tend to skip around this book, somehow, no matter the reason, I always seem to land on chapter 55.